right, everybody, welcome back to the Geeson Brothers podcast. It has been a long couple of months, a lot of stuff going on behind the scenes. For those of you watching on YouTube, you can see we finally have our own studio, okay? We've spent a lot of time these past couple of months setting this up so that we can get back in here. I've been itching. I've got a lot of stuff I want to talk about and just been making notes because I haven't had a chance to talk about it. So we're really excited moving forward. We have restructured a lot of stuff, and we're just looking forward to everything in the future. So listen, today's topic's going to be overcoming fear of failure, something that I'm sure we've covered in the past. But today we're going to share a couple of stories with you, go over the science of why everybody is naturally afraid of failing, and kind of give you guys a couple of ways and tips to help overcome that fear. So thank you guys for listening today. Make sure you guys subscribe so that you're notified when the next episodes come out, because we are back in the zone. They will be coming out weekly. And also leave some comments below. Let us know what topics you'd like to cover. All right, guys, thanks. Today, let's talk a little bit about overcoming fear of failure. Not just fear, but fear of failure, because it's pretty specific. And every single person, I think, can resonate with it, because every single person, and I'll get into this, some of the statistics, but it's literally ingrained in all of us, right, is being afraid of failing. So it's the thing about it is it's one of the, if not the main reason that people don't accomplish goals or get things, accomplish anything really. And it's not necessarily that failing is the problem, but it's how your mind plays tricks on you, and what your mind tells you is going to happen if you fail, right? And we'll get into all that too. But anyway, that's what we're talking about today. You got anything, any stories or anything you want to share before we get into all the statistics? Because you can see I got a lot of stuff written down here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes to overcoming fear,
Yeah.
and obviously fear of failure, you have to, and I'm not going to go crazy into depth or anything. That's just how I personally view it and I look at it. It's really what is the outcome
Mm-hmm.
of the failure.
Yeah.
That's really what I look at to figure out, should I push through or should I not? If that makes sense. If the risk is worth the reward, the fear is going to be removed. I'm going to, not removed completely, but I'm going to push through the fear.
Yeah.
Because I don't care about what the failure is. But
Absolutely.
most people don't look at the end outcome.
Mm-hmm.
They just look at what's in front of them at the moment of going worst case.
Yeah, so that's perfect, because that's one of the things that I was going to touch on, so we'll just do that now. But that's exactly it, is the worst case scenario, right? That's what everybody's focused on. They're not focused on what could possibly be good, you know what I mean? They're just focused on what could possibly be bad, right? And the worst case scenario is actually a good test to use to help overcome it, because literally, if you sit down and write down everything that could go wrong if you take action on whatever it is that you're trying to do. So let's use starting a business for an example. I mentioned this before, but like, there's the worst thing that could possibly happen to you is not death, okay? Unless you're trying to start a bungee jumping business with, discount bungee cords or something, right? But like, you're probably not going to die. So, and you're young enough, you're not 90 years old in most situations. So, you can fix it. You know what I mean? You've got a chance to reset, but you'll never know if you don't do it, right? So, a perfect example of all of this, right, that I wanted to talk about for myself is my first business, right? I jumped into that super scared, right? I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know anything about business. I didn't know half the stuff that was required in my state. I didn't, I did what research I could do, and then just went in and it took me probably 5-6 months to finally pull the trigger on it, because I was that scared, and I was like, all right, I'm going to do all this research and get it all done. Finally, I overcame my fear and just did it, right? And then, you have all these scenarios playing out in your head. What happens if this? What happens if that? And honestly, 2.5 years in, it took me a lot longer than 2.5 years to admit it, but that business failed, and it was failing when I merged with the other company that I merged with. But that was it. You know what I mean? I had come to the end. And instead of fighting through and staying on my own, I took the first easiest route out of there, right? But that's a perfect example because I 100% failed, okay? That company was done. And the easy way out was to go with somebody else. But guess what? I did. I went with somebody else, and my first business fails. I go into debt, $10,000 or whatever it was. Join with the other company, and a year later, I'm out of debt and everything's fine. Well, in 1 year's time, all of the bad stuff that had happened was over. Right? There was nothing else to worry about, and now I had a job, and I knew someday I was going to go back and do it myself. But like that's the whole thing. That's the perfect example of this, right? I was scared to do it. I did it, and the absolute worst thing happened, which was my business failed and I was in debt. And guess what? A year later, I was fine. Some people it might take 2 or 3 years, but either way,
Yeah.
you can always get a job and be fine again. You know what I mean? It just takes a little bit of discipline, but that is the perfect example of overcoming fear and of failure and then failing anyway. You know what I mean? There's plenty of other stories about overcoming fear of failure and then winning. You know what I mean? But I figured that was a good example to share because that was the worst case scenario and it happened. And I was fine 12 months later. There was no issues. So I don't know. You got anything you want to share?
I mean, in my sense, I look towards sales because that's what I'm.
Yeah, that's a great one.
In the very beginning of the career, messed up terribly. It was when I say mess up terribly, lack of experience.
Yeah.
Obviously, not the right mentors,
Mm-hmm.
and the fear of failure was there, but I was also more scared to not make money, and
Mhm.
I'd rather do something to assist. You know
Yeah,
what
yeah.
I mean? For the fact of overcoming anything, I think give just the best example. I know in the beginning, I've overcame a lot of fear to like go inside the home,
Yeah.
being able to try new scripts, try new closes. Like that was always fearful. But
Right.
I think one of the best examples is even if you have experience, I think it was like 2 years deep. I was going to a call and I called you. I was going into a
Yeah.
home and I was like, dude,
Yeah.
I think I lost it.
Mm-hmm.
I can't go in this home right now. I haven't sold in home in years.
Yeah.
What's gonna happen when I go inside this home?
Yeah. I remember.
And what happened?
Yeah.
Talk through some, and then boom, we went right. Well, you weren't there, but I talked through it, and then maybe I don't know if I closed them or not, but I know I went into the home and did what was needed, and then it was like, oh wait, that was it.
And then you left. Yeah.
It's like,
and guess what? You're.
did I really? Nothing happened. No, there was no no deaths. No,
Yeah.
I didn't lose money. There was, if anything, how I look at it is, I gained some type of experience.
Yep.
Positive, negative. I still gained something to use next time.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? But it's as simple as utilizing. I don't want to get too in because I'm looking at all these notes. You've got so many.
Yeah.
So I'll wrap up so you can get in there. But overcoming fear is not the. It's really just down to, do you know what's on the other side?
Yeah.
If you know what's on the other side, you can cross that bridge.
Yeah.
And that's literally it. Sometimes your mind plays tricks on you, and you just have to realign it to what the outcome is.
No, and that's good. That's good. Because, like I said, you do the worst case scenario and the best case scenario. So now you know exactly what you just said. What is on the other side? It's one of those two options. So there's no fear of unknown. Okay, you've established what what option A and what option B are. You can even go into option C through Z, but as long as you know what is going to happen, you know what the two options are, and the what A and Z, I'll say, not A and B. It's A and Z.
Because you don't. I really don't need to know B, C, D, E, F, G.
No.
I don't care about none of that.
Nope.
All I need to know is what's the best, what's the worst. If the worst is not death,
Yep.
let's go for it.
Yeah, exactly. So you know A, Z, in between doesn't matter. you just know it's going to be something in between those two things. So like you said, you know what's on the other side now. So there's it's a lot easier to take that step towards, action, uh, when you have an idea of what's going to happen, good or bad. You have an idea what's going to happen. There's not oh, I have no idea what's going to happen. You've written it down. So,
Yes.
and that's I've got that written down here at the end. And we'll touch on that again at the end. But yeah, I mean, shoot, man, I got a whole bunch of statistics here. Something that you had found was that, what was it, 40% of people in general don't start a business simply because they're afraid of failing. Right? We saw that on the other on one of the reports that you pulled. So 40% of people do not start a business because they're afraid of failing. Right? So I can't imagine where I'd be right now, or what I'd be doing, or how miserable I'd be working for somebody else. I've been through a lot of crap. Just owning a business is definitely not easy, right? But I cannot imagine working for somebody else for the next 30 years because I was afraid to start a business. You know what I mean? I can't imagine what that would be like. So of that 40%, right? So there's 60% of people get over that fear and they start a business. And of that 60%, 42% say that fear of failure was the hardest thing to overcome to start their business, right? So, I don't even know, I'm not going to be able to do all the math on that. But essentially, a lot of people are afraid to start or afraid to fail. And it's just some of them are able to overcome that fear, 40% aren't, right? But it's still the vast majority of people starting a business aren't or are afraid that they're going to fail at it. And it's 100% normal, which again, we're about to get into because these are some things that I don't think you had pulled, but these are pretty ridiculous. So let's see, what do I have here? Okay, yeah, this right here. This is what I was talking about. It's ingrained in all of us. So your brain perceives uncertainty as a threat, right? So naturally, your brain tells you, "Oh, we got to back away from that." Okay, which is exactly why we just talked about doing the best case and worst case scenario, because now there's no uncertainty. You know what might and
you remove the fear.
Yep. So I wouldn't say remove it, but you diminish it. Okay, it gets a lot easier to deal with. But literally, scientifically, from the Journal of Neuroscience, your brain perceives uncertainty as a threat. So naturally, your body's instinct is to say, "Nope, that's a threat. I got to back away from it." You know what I mean? It's you can't even. It's not that you're born with it. You're born without it. Every single person scientifically has this in their brain. Okay, so it's not like you're a bad person. Right here, I have this other note written down that your hesitation isn't a personal flaw. It's a biological response. It's literally ingrained in all of us. Okay. So it's simply just how what steps you take to overcome that.
Yes, the fight or flight response.
Yeah, that's it. So, okay, so here's another one along with this. So 45% of daily behaviors are habitual, meaning that you do them without thinking, right? It's just a habit. 45% of your daily behavior,
subconscious acting
just happens. So naturally, you're going to resist things that are new, right? Which are outside of that, which are the hard things, which are the things that you're afraid of. So failing, you know what I mean? You're going to naturally resist that. And that, again, is biological. There's nothing, that's just it. But knowing that 45% of your behaviors are habitual, you know that you can recognize them and push past those fears to create new habits. And then you won't be thinking about, what those things that you were afraid to do last year. In a year, you're just doing them without thinking about them because they've become habits. Okay. It takes a lot, it takes time to get there. You take small steps to make that happen. But if you know that, it makes taking those small actions much easier. You have to tighten right here.
I know.
So I thought that was interesting too. I've done a lot of reading and research on habits, and it is super, super intricate. The science behind them, really great. The Habit Loop is a really great book to read. I know I've mentioned that on this podcast before, but that's a really great book to read that explains the science behind it and goes over a couple of ways to restructure your habits and your mind to overcome bad habits and stuff. But fear of failure is a habit. It's there. So you can overcome those things. And the easiest way to do that is to small steps, right? So I underlined cold showers because that's my favorite one. If you can make yourself take a cold shower, do you know how many other things you can do? Because that's the most uncomfortable thing, right? And I underlined it because I was like, you know what, I'm gonna start doing that again. I take 2 showers a day, so I'm gonna take one cold shower a day and one hot shower a day. But cold showers are the biggest, in my opinion, the best thing to help, kind of organize or retrain yourself to do hard things.
I'm gonna agree to disagree.
Yeah, you don't have to do that. It's just
I don't know if I've ever been able to wrap my head around like the cold plunges. Like,
yep.
I don't care
Mm-hmm.
what response it has on my body.
Yeah.
I know if I needed to save somebody, I could jump in cold water. Why? Because I've done it. Not
Yeah,
meaning
yeah.
I've saved someone from cold water, but I've jumped into ice cold water
Yeah.
before.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm good.
Mm-hmm.
Now, do I understand the fact of, it helps you understand that you can do whatever you say you're going to do?
Yep.
And saying it and doing it are two different things, but if you put those together,
Yeah.
starts with small
Yeah.
actions.
Yeah.
I understand that concept,
Uh-huh.
but I'd rather push myself in other ways.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the best part, right? It's not like I'm telling you if you don't take cold showers, you're never going to start a business. You know what I mean? That's not it.
Yeah, if you don't take a cold shower, you have a 60% chance
Yeah.
to fail.
Yeah, you're one of those 42. You no.
No, it's just putting stress on your body when you don't need to. And
Yeah,
I say stress, but challenging yourself.
Yep, and this quote comes up all the time, but getting comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Doing something uncomfortable. I like cold showers. All right, that's me personally. You don't have to do cold showers, doesn't matter. I think if I take a cold shower in the morning, it sets me up, so for the rest of the day, subconsciously I'm making better decisions simply because I tweak that one thing in the morning, right?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and it could be anything. It could be, oh man, I woke up 20 minutes earlier today. You know what I mean? That is going to trigger a series of decisions that you make throughout the day that are better. You know what I mean? Or I stayed up 20 minutes later, but instead of scrolling, I edited a video that I was going to post or something, right? So just those little actions end up forming habits and make a domino effect on decisions that'll have a better effect on the outcome of your life, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, cold showers. I underline cold showers because I love them, but that's that. So let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, this is a good one. 92% of people never achieve their goals because they overthink instead of take action. Go ahead.
Oh man, I think I'm still an overthinker.
Yeah.
I think that is one of the hardest traits I've had to let go in sales
Uh-huh.
is overthink because sales is action.
Yeah.
And if you think, most of the time you lose. That's
Mhm.
why it was, you've heard me train salespeople. It's you have to know what you want to say prior to saying it, so when it happens, it just rolls.
Right.
Vice the other way, and
Yeah,
that's
which
more or
is
less trying to overthink everything.
Yeah, and that's why in your field you guys are doing a bunch of role playing and talking, doing your sales scripts and
Mhm.
overcoming objections with each other before you get on the phone.
Yes.
Yep, and it's 100% repetition helps with all that.
And that kills the overthinking because if you
Exactly.
don't do
Fixes the overthinking.
something like that, all you're doing is thinking, well, this can happen on a sales call. And I'm not saying it can be negative, but you could think of 1,000 different outcomes
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and never get on there. Or, hey, if I do go call and I make 5 phone calls, what's the outcome of this? Am I
Yeah,
going to
yeah,
make
yeah.
any money here? Is
Analysis
it going to be worth it for a week?
paralysis.
It's like, wait a minute, I just spent an hour thinking about doing nothing.
Instead of taking action. Yep.
Action's everything.
Yeah, and I could probably show you 16 freaking notebooks.
Oh, I've got projects after projects that
goals and all this stuff that I wrote down. So I'm gonna do this, and then never. All I did was talk myself out of doing all of them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, 92% of people never achieve their goals because overthinking. They overthink instead of taking action. And it's funny. This was put on here. I wrote this down. The 5-second rule. I know I've mentioned that book before. Really, all you need to do is read the freaking first sentence of the book. But essentially, it's the whole gist of the book is that if you don't act within 5 seconds of, the thought, then you're going to talk yourself out of it. And it's, there is science behind it. It goes into all that in the book, but that's the main thing. If you think about doing something and then do not act within 5 seconds, you're all likely just going to start, overthinking it and talking yourself out of it, which 100%.
And it's ironic because where I'm at right now in operations, it's literally the death. Over planning is the death of it, but also on the flip side, what normally gets the ball rolling is just taking a step in a direction.
Yep.
Direction. I'm not saying it needs to be the right direction. Even if it's 100% the wrong direction, you at least now have data to go,
you're moving.
I'm moving.
Yep.
But now I need to pivot.
Exactly. Absolutely. So yeah, the 5-second rule, I'm not telling you to do that with everything in your life. It's just, it's not even that I use this rule. Okay. It's just,
I like it though.
Yeah. It's an interesting thing to think about. Right. So it's just another tool to have in the back of your head. Like, oh, okay. Yeah, it takes about 5 seconds for you to talk yourself out of something. So I'll try and be a little faster. You know what I mean?
You know what that also makes me think though? It also, I always like to take a step back and look, like, if I'm using that rule, what does that also tell me? It tells me if I'm using that rule all day and I'm going, I'm not going to do that. Like, I'm taking longer than 5 seconds to act.
Yep.
I'm probably doing something I don't want to be doing. I don't like. It's not persuading my.
Like a cold shower.
Yeah, no. There's no me sitting there going, should I do that? Like,
no, it's just I'm not doing that.
There's just a flat line. But
yeah,
it's just ironic to me when I look at that. It's like when you edit yourself and you're like, well, I had 100 thoughts today and I only acted on 5.
Yep.
How misguided you are because you had 100 other side thoughts. It shows you how unfocused you are. That's what that is kind of like revealing to me is if I did an audit of that in a day, it shows me how unfocused I am. If I'm only doing 5 or 6 actions, but I'm thinking of 100, why am I thinking of all those?
Right. Absolutely. And yeah, that's something, again, that being persistent, not persistent, what's the word I'm looking for? Consistent. Will help overcome that kind of stuff, right? So once you have a daily routine set up and things like that, and you're making these small changes and these better habits, you'll find that better focus comes along with it, which is what I've noticed. But one of the other last points I wanted to say was with that thinking doesn't make the fear go away. The only thing that gets rid of fear is taking action, right? And it doesn't matter what it is. If it's, I'm going to go to the gym today, but I don't want people to make fun of me because I'm out of shape, or, I can't lift as much as I used to, or whatever it may be. You just need to go to the gym and then watch nobody care that you're there. You know what I mean? You'll probably get a couple of, hey, nice to see you. Hope you have a good workout. 90, in my experience at least, that's 98% of my interactions at the gym is, hey, have a good workout. It's good to see you here, whatever. But it's never what you think it's going to be. You're always in your head talking yourself out of these
worst
things.
Case every single time versus going, well, what if I go there and people are welcoming and it's, again,
and you feel better.
The world is not optimistic, unfortunately. No,
we're inherently
pessimistic.
Yeah, and that was it. The uncertainty, again, your brain perceives uncertainty as a threat. So you don't know what's going to happen at the gym, right? So let's play it out real quick. I go to the gym, I have a good workout, I feel better, so I'm in a better mood for the rest of the day, blah, blah, blah. B, I get there, everybody starts making fun of me, calling me fat, you know what I mean? I'm stupid and ugly. So I leave the gym. Guess what? I'm still okay.
Still breathing.
Yep. And now I know what's going to happen at that gym. I'll find a different gym. You know what I mean? But that's it. Now you went through the whole thing. Okay. Worst case scenario, they're going to call me fat, ugly, and stupid, and I can walk out. That's it. It's, you know what I mean? So once you do that exercise, you go, okay, all right, well, I'm going to go now. So, to kind of wrap everything up, that's what I have written down was, use the worst case scenario test. Do both. Do best and worst case. Now you know exactly, what might happen. So it's much easier to take the step towards whatever that is. Again, something small like a cold shower. Oh my gosh, I'm freezing. I got a hypothermia, which isn't going to happen in a cold shower, by the way, guys. It's anyway. I'm freezing and uncomfortable, or all of the scientific stuff that they say online, which I don't know any of those. I just know I like cold showers, right? So I know that I know personally that I feel better when I get out of a cold shower versus feeling uncomfortable being in the shower, right? Okay, I'm going to do it because one of those two things is going to happen, right? So it's either that or say you're doing a business, right? I'm either going to get my time, make $1 million in a couple of years and have all this time with my family, or my business is going to go under and I'm going to be in debt and I'm going to have to get another job to fix it, which is exactly what I did. It's exactly what happened to me. So guess what? I'm fine. And I started a podcast to tell you guys about this. So that's it. Use that as some way to help you get over the fear of failing. Take micro actions I have written down, which is those small things. Do the cold shower. Get up 15 minutes earlier to make yourself a breakfast. Stay up 20 minutes later, and instead of scrolling, read 10 pages in a book. Whatever it is, take those small steps consistently. Don't do it one night and don't do it again for 3 months. Okay, start implementing consistent steps to help you take these actions and build these better habits. And then try to look back on all the failures that you've had, and instead of blaming yourself or blaming somebody else for them, look at them as, like you said, something that you learned from. Every single time that you went into a sale to make a sale at a house and it didn't close, you can take, okay, I can reword this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hear you training your sales agents, and it blows my mind because some of the stuff I'm not even thinking about. But you're like, hey, if you change this word, take out this word and use this word, big difference. You're going to stay on the phone with them, I promise. And it happens consistently. I see it happen. So if you can take your failures and reframe them as feedback and training, you know what I mean? Learn from it and start viewing all of them like that, it's going to make failing less scary.
I honestly, in the world of sales now, I look as failing as data to be able to close better.
Yeah.
And it's every sale that I have, it's a stepping stone. I can learn from it. But again, the worst case is I don't make the sale and I collect data.
Yeah. Yep.
Data helps me sell.
All right, what an episode. One of my favorites so far. Okay, a lot of stuff covered, a lot of information. So listen, before you guys shut everything off here, do me a favor. I want you to come up with something that you're going to change, one small step that you're going to take, whether it be the cold showers, whether it be the, reading 10 pages a night or whatever it is. What small step are you going to take? Leave us a comment below. Let us know. We would love to see. Also, again, make sure you guys subscribe and leave us a comment. Let us know what other topics you would like us to cover in the future. Otherwise, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Thank you.